Hey guys, yeah, this is my Expedition, and if you watch, now and then the odometer light goes off, it comes back on, and it's been doing this for quite some time, especially after it warms up. You hit a bump, and it just blinks on and off. It's kind of weird. If I kind of tap it, sometimes it'll come back on. So we're going to try to fix this today. It's kind of annoying. You can be driving down the highway, and it'll just go off. But a lot of times in the daylight, you can't even see it. And now it's back off, now it's on. So we're going to try to fix it, but a lot of times if you just kind of tap it there, you can see it flickering now. It does its thing, so we're going to take it to the doctor. A doctor called Mr. Soldering Gun. So we're going to fix it. Hopefully it'll take care of the problem. I fixed about probably 25 or 30 of these in my lifetime, so I thought I'd make a quick video today. And this is basically for all the Fords. From 95 all the way up to 2012, I've been told they're doing it. You'd think Ford by now would have this figured out. And as you can see, I got the car running, and you can see it's a nervous wreck. It comes on and goes off, stays on. You hit a bump, it goes off. So we're going to try to fix it today. Hopefully it'll turn out okay. Pretty easy to fix. Alright, the clouds are moving in. Looks like we're going to get some snow tonight. Yeah, it's about time. It's almost January. But here are the tools we will need. We'll need a 7mm little socket, and I have this little guy. This set here I picked up for like, I don't know, $3. You'll need some little torque bits to take out a couple of screws, and these are very small too. These are little 1/4-inch drives. We'll need a Phillips screwdriver, and we'll need a straight screwdriver. And the most important thing you'll need is a soldering gun. I picked this up at Walmart for less than $10. And they give you solder, and they give you an extra tip. And this is a 30-watt soldering gun, so this will do the job just fine. So for less than $10, you can actually fix your blinking odometer light. And let's get to it. All right, first thing we gotta do is get our little screwdriver and get in here and pop off this light assembly unit. Just pull it out like this, and there's some wires on the back. We got to disconnect those, so I'll have to set the camera down to do that. Alright, we got that disconnected. We'll set that up here off to the side. Now next thing we got to do, there's a little 7mm nut right there. I think you can see that. We got to take that guy out. Alright, we got our nut just ready, our bolt ready to come out. And the finger in there, a little tight. Making a liar out of it. It should come right out. There it is. Alright, and there's this guy. Put that off to the side. Okay, next thing we got to do on this one, there's a plastic cover right here. We got to pop this off that goes around the steering wheel and the gear shift. Just kind of pull this up out of the way. And it can be a little tedious at times. Sometimes you have to turn the key on and drop it down in gear to get it to move past the drive shaft. I mean, not drive shaft, the gear shaft. Gear selector. There we go. Pop that out. And we'll just simply put it back up in park. And that is off to the side. Alright, now I've got the last bolt out on this piece of trim here as the snow starts to fall a little bit. Wow. Sun's shining and the snow's falling. Interesting. Anyway, there's a bunch of, there's one, you got a bolt right there, you got a bolt right there, you've got two down here, you got one right there, and you got one there. Don't forget these two, because if you pull in this plastic, you'll break it. And of course you got the one down here where the light is, and basically all you do at this point is pull off. Now it's very easy to forget this middle one, so make sure you get all three of these. And like I said, it takes a 7mm little socket to get in there. And I'm outside, the temperature's in the 30s, so you gotta be careful. If you're outside, it's kind of cold when you pull in this plastic. Just do it gently, because it's easy to break. And we just simply pull it out. And I think what I'll do here is go ahead and put the key back in the ignition and turn that, drop it down in gear, so it'll give me clearance for that plastic there. Just makes life a lot easier. There we go. Doing this with one hand and holding the camera. Okay, now once I get it all the way out, you have two more plugs right here we have to unhook. One's for the the heater, the rear defroster, and the pedals. So we need to unhook these two wires there. Alright, we got the little pedal switch out, which I hardly ever use. And the other one's off, and now we'll just slide this out like this. And like I said, be very careful if it's cold out. And we'll just set this off to the side. This is why I like working outside, because I know a lot of you guys don't have the luxury of working inside in a big fancy garage. A lot of times you got to do what you got to do to get it fixed. Alright, now what we're going to do, there's 4 screws that hold this cluster in. It's these dark bolts right there, the 7mm. There we go. One there, one right there, one down here on the bottom, right there where my finger is. And we got one on this side, which is kind of far back in there. It is right there. So we'll go ahead and take those out. And there's a wire on the back of this harness on the back of the cluster, I should say. We'll unplug that and slide it out. Alright, now on that bolt right there, I've got my little extension on there, a little 7mm, and the bolt will probably fall down, but you can see the extension, how long it is. They make these with screwdriver types, so it might just be long enough to get in there. And once it gets out of there, it's really hard to get your fingers in there sometimes. So if you can't get your finger in there and to get the bolt, I like to take my trusty old magnet. Let me tell you what, these are lifesavers. Just get in there, twist that magnet, and out comes the bolt. And now we got to do the other 3. Go ahead and take those out, and they're really easy to get to. Alright, now so I've got my last bolt out. The nice thing is every bolt that I've taken out like this, same size, no problem. Now you think, wow, we're ready to take it out. Well, no, there's a little bit of a fly in the ointment here. And a lot of people don't tell you this. A lot of people are doing these dashes, soldering these joints back here without telling you one thing. They don't tell you that you got to disconnect this wire here for the gear shift lever. A lot of people are doing these jobs, but they don't have this wire that goes down to the bottom, and this wire actually controls your gear selector. If you can see right there, this controls your reverse drive, tells you what gear you're in. So what we have to do now is pretty simple. It's just about a 10-minute job. We have to get down here, pop this panel off, your fuse panel, just pull it out of the way. We have to take all these little screws off. There's about 6, I believe, on this panel right here. So we can get into the bottom of this cable and unhook it without breaking it. Because if you break this, it's going to drive you nuts. You'll never know what gear you're in. So I bet now I've got your attention, right? Alright, so let's go ahead and take this panel off and unhook this the proper way so this does not get broken. Then this unit will come out. Like I said, a lot of guys are showing you how to do this job, but none of them are dealing with this. They're doing the jobs without this, but I'm going to do it with this cable and show you it can be done. Alright, now I've got all the little screws out on the panel. There's not really that many. You got one there, you got one on the bottom of the panel, and you got one right there. Now on the bottom you have your hood release and your emergency brake. There's a couple of little bolts that hold this up underneath. They're all 7mm. And the same with your hood release. Now when this drops down, just kind of put it off to the side. And there is one bolt here that goes, it's an 8mm, that goes on the bottom. And I'm going to try to hold this camera where you can see it. It goes right there. That little plate you see, that's part of this assembly, this is the only oddball. It's an 8mm. You take that out and this whole unit will drop down, and we can now get into this cable here and then hook it the proper way, and we can pull that unit out. So let me set the camera down here and kind of move this out of the way. And by the way, you have your OBD connector right here. Just pop that out. And actually, I think I can just pull this out of the way. Give you a look at the whole unit here. There we go. It's tough doing a video holding the camera with one hand and showing you how to do it. This will be better anyway. Now I can really show you what's going on here. This is the extra odd bolt I was telling you that holds this on there. Once you take this out, this whole piece will come out. There's the bolt for the bottom of the brake, emergency brake, and there's the bolts for the hood release, and this panel will come out. It's just a piece of plastic with a metal backing on the back of it. That's all it is. And we'll set this in here off to the side. And like I said, now we have access to this cable. We can unhook it. And the way you unhook it, you see that little screw right there? Put my finger right there. Right there. We take that off. And at the end of that line, you see that little fishing line right there? We just pop that off right there. There's a little hook. And that whole piece will come out. So let me take that off. Okay, now I've got the little bolt out on the top there that held that piece of plastic. Let me show you what it looks like. And it turns out this is a 7/32 inch little bolt. Let me set it right there. I grab my socket just to verify that. Yeah, 7/32. This is the only bolt of the whole, all the bolts I took out that was actually standard. Everything else is metric. So I'm going to stick that in there. And I've already unhooked the little wire. I hope you can still see because the sun is in and out today and it's kind of hard to keep the camera lighting right. And we just unhooked this little fishing line right there. There's a little hook. It's right there where my finger is. I think you can see that. Right there. It just stakes around it. It's just anchor point. And now, if I can get out of here, we can go ahead and pull this whole piece out. And out it comes. Once I get it past the plastic here. I have to set the camera down and kind of, oh, here we go. Okay. And that is out. Now, when you take your time to this point, because if you don't get this out and you actually snap these and break them, you're going to be singing the gear shift blues because you're not going to know what gear it is. And all this does, it bolts back up to that piece of, to the bottom of the gear shift down there. There's a little bolt that goes in there and bolts it up, which you just saw. And this here just anchors around that little hook. That's all that is. And now we can go ahead and disconnect the wire plug in the back of this speedometer here, the cluster, and we'll go ahead and pull this out. Yeah, hopefully I've explained this the best I can and you understand. I know it's a little tedious, but to get to this point, to take this out, it's very important because you don't want to break this. But really at this point, when you get here, the hard part's done. All we got to do is pop this out and solder this and put it back in. So let's go ahead and pull this out. All right, now I find the easiest way to take this out, if you have a tilt wheel, just tilt it down, get your hand behind the bottom of the cluster here, pull the first plug out, and this will slide out a little farther, then you can get your hand in there and pull out the second plug. And you have a total of 2 plugs, and this will come out. And like I said, it's kind of hard to do this with a camera in one hand and cluster in the other. And the cluster is out, and we did not break this, and you will feel proud, trust me. And here's the entire cluster. So what we're going to do next is take it in the house and I think solder it because it's getting a little chilly out here. It looks like it's going to snow pretty soon, but it should be a simple fix. But you do have 2 plugs that are on the back of this harness. I should say there are 2 plugs on the back of the cluster and wiring harness, and the hard part's done. But a lot of guys are fixing these clusters, showing you how to solder them, but none of them are taking them out with this wire, this gear shifter wire on it. And it's, like I said, it's very important. You end up breaking that. And it's kind of interesting how they designed that. It would be nice if you could disconnect it from here, but trust me, it's worth the extra 10 minutes to pull that panel off there that goes down there to take that cluster off. Much easier. All right, let's get inside and rip it apart and solder it. All right, now we got our speedometer cluster inside, and you will be happy that that's still connected and you did not break it. So we'll flip it over, and what we got to do, we got to take 7 of these little guys there out. These are T15. So you have to get a little Torx bit. This is what we're going to use, and we'll take all these out and we'll separate this back housing. All right, we got our last screw out. There they are, all 7, 2, 4, 6, 7. They're all there. Now we just kind of pop this back off, put it off to the side, and now this piece here, we usually have to get behind it and just kind of pull up on it. It's just held on by some clips. All right, that is off. Now I like to go ahead and just unplug this wire here. This makes it a lot easier, but you can still flip it over like this and go right in there and resolder those joints. It's usually the end one. I don't remember if it's that one or that one, But I like to go in with my soldering gun and hit every one of them just to make sure that everything is nice and secure. So what I'm going to do, I have to set the camera down. I'm going to go ahead and unplug this plug, put this board off to the side so it'll make it easier to solder. Okay, now that's disconnected. Now just simply flip it over. And here's what we got to solder. Now, I took a high-powered pair of glasses and looked. That one right there, if you can, yeah, I think you can almost see that. It's got a crack around it. That's the soldering joint that has actually come loose. So we're going to solder that. And just for the heck of it, we're going to solder the end one. And I may actually just go ahead and touch every one of those up. But it is definitely that one right there. Let me see if I can zoom in there a little bit more. I think you can, well, camera only can do so much, but it is definitely that one right there that we're going to be soldering. I think you can kind of see that. So we'll get to fire the soldering gun up here and go ahead and solder that baby. Okay, we'll go ahead and solder this, and hopefully you can see this, and I will try to keep my hand out of the way. I need to get my really good glasses here because, you know, I'm a little older and I can't see as good as I could in my younger days. So go ahead and solder this one in. Nice. We'll do that one. Put a little extra solder there just for good measure. And we'll go down here on the end one. I don't trust it. We'll do it too. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit them all. Just make sure that we don't have any problems down the road. There's 4. There's 5. It's a nice soldering gun. There's 6. There's 7. Could have done that one. There we go, 7. And we'll do 8. And they're all done. Like I said, I got this soldering gun at Walmart. Very inexpensive. And they are all done. Although I got a little extra solder on this one, but it won't hurt anything. I'll clean it up a little bit there. I'm zoomed in pretty good. There we go. Alright, those are all soldered and those are done. And that should take care of the problem. And we give you a look at it in this direction. Looks a lot better that way. Clean it up a little bit. A little toothbrush, and we'll put it back together, and that should take care of the problem. So there you go. So I'm going to go ahead and stick all this back together. I'm not going to show you how to do all of it, but since you took it apart, obviously you know how to put it back together. So let me clean this up a little bit and stick it back together. And there it is. It's all cleaned up, and of course now it's ready to be put back together. So I'm pretty happy. Looks like it's going to be finished. Alright, now at this point I got all my screws back in, and this is also a great opportunity and time to go ahead and replace any burnt out lights that you have on your cluster, because it's a lot easier to do it now than take it back apart later and have to deal with your gear selector wires. So we'll go ahead and stick this in now. Okay, now in order to get this cluster back in, taking it out is not too bad, but putting it back in it's kind of a pain in the ass. Drop your gear shift down in low and kind of fish it in like this. Once you get it in there, you can turn it sideways. And I may have to set the camera down and do this, well, maybe not, with my other hand. And once you get that in there, it's okay. Then pull out on the side right here, and you'll have to stick your hand in behind there and hook those 2 plug wires up. Trust me, you can get your hands in there and hook those plug wires up if you take your time. And after you do that, turn your key on, and let's verify that our odometer is working, so we don't have any issues, because we don't want to have to put all this back together and rip it back out and figure out what we did wrong with our odometer. So let me hook the plugs up, and we'll turn the key on and make sure the odometer is working. Then we'll go ahead and stick this back together. Okay, the cluster's pushed in. I got the 2 plugs in on the back of it, and I still don't have this guy hooked up. We'll get to that here in a second. I'm going to stick my key in the ignition, turn it on, and make sure our odometer now is working. Yes, it is working. That's what we want to see. So now, I'll go ahead and I'll put this back in there. We'll put the bolt in it, hook this around the little anchor pin there, and we'll start putting it back together. So it looks like it's going pretty good. Okay, now I'm upside down, laying on my back here, and what I do, I go ahead and take the end of that wire and stick it around that guy right there. It's just a little hook. Then take your little plastic sleeve and just kind of push it on there, and it'll stay because it's got a little nipple there. And we'll go ahead and put the bolt in. And by the way, this wheel there, you spin that to adjust the markings on the numbers. If you're in drive and it's actually pointing in neutral, you just spin that and that will turn that, it'll move that gauge up there so you can actually have it in the right, on the right selector mark. That's what that is for. So we'll go ahead and stick the bolt in. Okay, and as you can see, we'll tighten this guy down. Don't tighten it too tight because you'll end up breaking it. I must be ambidextrous today because I'm holding the camera, turning the socket with one hand, holding the camera with the other, and laying on my back. Alright, so that's tight, and this part is done. And really all we have to do now is put the bottom plate on and start putting the screws back in, and we'll be just about done. And something is on my lens. There's one more look at it. And just take a little extra time for this here because you don't want to break your little wire, and you don't want to end up breaking your gear selector markings, so you won't know what gear you're in. So there you go. So let's go up on top and finish up. As you can see, I got my bottom panel here bolted on, and just verify, you know, all the bolts are, there's 2 bolts on the hood and 2 bolts on the brake handle. One goes up under behind there and one goes in the front. Same with the hood. And you get a bolt back there, a bolt there, and basically you got this one back here that we talked about earlier, which is a 8mm. This is the only oddball bolt we have. Other than that, just got to put the cover back on for the fuse panel here. And see if I can stick this on here while you're watching me. I don't know if you're going to be able to, maybe. Holding the camera with one hand and filming and working sometimes can be a little tedious. Like that's on, and we'll pop this on. And just take your time when you're putting it back together so you can verify that everything is back where it should be. And like I said, now all we have to do is go ahead and put this back in the top panel, which goes like that. So like I said, occasionally you may have to drop it down low gear. You may, if you have the wheel tilt lever, you may have to move it down so you can tilt your wheel around just to give you a little extra room. All I gotta do is put that in and hook up my lights here and the switch. Everything seems to be okay. Now I've let it run for about 10 minutes and it's still working beautifully. I checked all my gauges, my lights, and everything is working, so I didn't break any lights and everything seems to be pretty good. So we'll go ahead and stick this together here and wrap this video up. Hopefully this will help somebody out. Alright, you got my light panel back on there. It's all hooked up. You can always tell when someone's worked on a vehicle before you, but there's always a few screws missing. I had enough here for all these on the bottom. On the bottom of this here, since my trim piece is going to cover all this up, I don't want to have to pop it off again. I'm actually missing 3 little screws on the bottom of this right here. So I actually had some inside, and I needed a Phillips screwdriver to put those in. But really, in theory, I didn't even need a Phillips screwdriver. Everything there was just little 7mm bolts. But since I had a bucket of bolts in there, I put 3 little screws in here and used a Phillips screwdriver. So all we got to do now is pop this on and we'll be done. All right, to make this a little easier, I just put it down in gear, push the panel on there, push in on it right there, push in on it right there. You'll hear it click. And everything is back together. How about that? Wasn't too bad of a job. And look at that. We still have our odometer working, which is what I wanted to see earlier. Yes, I know I have a check engine light on. That is a P420 code. That's something I'll be doing later. That is a intake gasket. I'll be making a video on that. Very common on these 4.6s and 5.4s. So what I'm going to do, we'll drive it for a few hours and we'll see if this flickers anymore. I'll come back and give you guys an update. But other than that, looks like I finished just in time. Looks like we're going to get blasted with a nice snow shower. So I'm pretty happy there. And you can actually see the snow falling out of the clouds, which is pretty cool. Wow. Anyway, so I'll be back here in a little bit and give you guys a final update on my fix here for the odometer. Alright guys, a little update. It's pretty late in the day and I've been out couple hours, and my selector, my odometer, has not blinked one time, so that took care of the fix. Pretty happy about that, so I just want to pass along a little update. Make sure you solder those joints real good. Although I noticed my selector reset doesn't work. It seems like it's sprung or something. I may look at it later, but I didn't even realize that until today. So, but other than that, that works really good. I'm happy. So thanks for watching, and good luck. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them, but take your time at it, and you can fix it. So I'm pretty happy. As it gets dark, I'll be able to see my odometer as the light fades in the evening sky. So thanks for watching, and take care. Until next time.